Last time I asked 75,000 player who the most hated agent was, and Breach came out on top by a long shot, and I have a whole video on that, but today I want to talk about Chamber. Chamber came in second place with 12% of players feeling that he is the most annoying agent to play against, just a little bit under half of Breach's votes. Now, Chamber's play rate has actually increased over a decent amount of time, and at almost 50% win rate and the highest pick rate in Valorant, I think it's time to discuss him just a little bit. Riot has went on a series of nerfs in order to deal with Chamber to the best of their ability. They have nerfed him, they've only given him one trap, and Chamber's in a very weird spot. We can't say he's weak because that would be false. He's actually one of the strongest agents in the game and clearly still the most popular. And in my opinion, Riot is not done adjusting him, but what can they do? That's the real question. There's been a lot of talk about this. Actually, one of the most popular suggestions is giving him a delay. You know how Jet has to wind up her dash? What if Chamber had to wind up his TP? But the problem with that is that he has to put 2 anchor points down and already has a lot of pre-setup. So what can he do? What can Riot do in order to nerf him further or change his playstyle? Now, they originally removed one of his trademarks, but that took a lot of the Sentinel role out of Chamber, and the fact that people call him a duelist is not wrong. Between his rendezvous being instant, faster than even Yoru's TP, and his other 2 abilities being DPS, it makes sense that only giving him one trademark and calling him a Sentinel doesn't make much sense. So here's my proposal on what Riot could do with Chamber, but I am no balance expert, I am not Radiant, so take it with a grain of salt and, you know, indulge in the conversation. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, but I digress. Here's what I would do to Chamber. The first thing I would do is give him back his second trademark. I think he needs to be a Sentinel, and having 2 trip points is not a terrible idea. I also think for his rendezvous, he should be able to teleport at a much larger distance, maybe even cross map, similar to how Yoru can teleport cross map, or at the very least, maybe give him a much wider radius, similar to like a Brimstone ult. But this is where it gets interesting. Once they do that, they can then change his animation where he brings up his finger and snaps a lot slower, similar to a Yoru TP. If I throw a Yoru TP and I jump out to pick someone, I can't just instantly teleport away. Like I can, but if the enemy team double peeks me, I will die. With Chamber, that is unlikely. Even at the top echelon of gaming, he teleports away so fast that 10s can barely flick on him, even if he double peeks with another Radiant. And that's his biggest problem. It is reminding me a lot of that Jet feeling, the op and dash. That was unhealthy for the game, and they were able to deal with it, but it took them a long time. And while a lot of you might not believe me when I say I think Chamber's still too strong, I believe this will come peek its dirty head back out. I believe the fact he can op with his ult, or actually op and then teleport away, will peek its head out. I think the crutch op, the op and teleport is strong in this game. I think it's a little bit vital that it gets fixed. But in my opinion, by giving him that second trap and increasing his radius to teleport around, but decreasing the speed he can teleport, it will change his playstyle. He will have to think of where those trips goes. He'll have to think where those teleport goes, right? Like you'd actually need to teleport from one spot to another in a safe area. So in my opinion, what he would have to do is peek an angle where he can retreat back to cover and then teleport to change positions and play off the second position again. Not peek an angle, hide, peek an angle, hide, peek, oh, I'm in trouble, snap my fingers, I'm gone, right? It becomes unhealthy, or even worse, he plays these off angles that he snaps his fingers and he's gone. It doesn't make much sense, and he is definitely not a Sentinel. You know what's funny is if we stat by silver, you can see Chambers in number 3rd spot. By gold, he rises to number 2, but by plat, he rises to number 1. And that pick rate just kind of keeps rising alongside the win rate. Like, holy moly. It's just Immortal. Immortal has the highest. Immortal at 38% pick rate. Oh my goodness. It is insanely high. It is extremely dominant. And the problem is that if we go back to when Jet was the one who was op-jashing, or I guess one-shotting and disappearing, and what's funny is one of the most popular posts on Reddit was actually about Jet, but replace Jet with Chamber as I read this out to you, and it's gonna sound very similar. Defense Operator Jet has become the main character of every game. Every smoke, flash, drone, stun, and general utility has to be sacrificed for this one agent. An agent that, despite all of this, has the ability to simply dry swing your team out of any situation imaginable and be out in the very next millisecond. It doesn't fit in what Valorant is meant to be. All the times you went 9-3 up on Icebox only to be absolutely demolished by a Jett that finally got their hands on an operator, did you feel outplayed? It's an unhealthy one-dimensional playstyle that rewards the user for the lowest of efforts. Now think of it from your own experience. Do you really feel outplayed when you watch your entire team get demolished despite using every resource available to combat it? The argument usually goes as follows. The operator used by Chamber/Jett is not overpowered. You just need to learn how to play against it. This argument falls short as I see top 500 players struggle just as much as low diamond lobbies. At the time, 85% pick rate for the pre-nerf in the pro scene, and now Chamber is at 89% in 2022. Now the last thing I could think of is maybe if they slowed down his ult, but then it's gonna start feeling too much like an operator. So in my opinion, I would simply increasing the range of the rendezvous, but lowering how fast it actually comes out would most likely fix Chamber in my opinion. However, it could make him a little too weak, which is why I offered the other trademark, but that's just my opinion. Maybe he's fine the way he is, and that's okay. Let me know what you think in the comments down below.